So if you've been watching my videos this far, we covered the privacy violation, we've covered the healthcare fraud and scam by mobile crisis, we've covered the fraudulent civil commitment, and now we're going to get into the illegal attempts to get my healthcare records. We have a new zip file for this. This is the Atrium Health fraud zip file. And I've already got it unzipped, you've been able to unzip these files by now. And so we'll go ahead and go into this folder. And the evidence for the illegal attempts to get my records are in the main evidence folder. Now, what I'm going to do is in this video, I'm going to go over these Atrium fraud notes. This is a roadmap to these calls. In the second video, I'm going to play you the incriminating parts of each of these calls. I'll be very brief. And then in the third video, I'm going to give you some very important notes, supplementary information about these calls. If you would prefer to read these notes and this Atrium fraud notes yourself, you can skip this video. If you would prefer to listen to these calls and the incriminating parts, which are listed on part 3, I've got the timestamps. If you would prefer to listen to those by yourself, then you can skip video 2. But I do want you to watch. It's important to watch video number 3. Okay. But here I'm going to go over this document, this fraud notes. So you already know about my file naming convention, about my evidence ID system. You can skip that. Now the players involved are Atrium Health's finance department, which I'm talking to an employee named Shirley, and Atrium Health corporate privacy. Here's the background. On the morning of June 6th, 2019, Jenny texts me and tells me that Shirley from Atrium Health has called and left a message on Jenny's work mail, Jenny's voicemail at Jenny's work number. Shirley claims that I've left Jenny's work number as an alternate contact. At the time Jenny texts me to tell this, I've deauthorized Jenny's personal cell number 4 times, and I don't even know Jenny's work number. Okay, so the first thing that I do is I'm mad as hell. I'm suspicious. I'm also mad as hell. On evidence ID 17, I call and curse Shirley out. Following this, after I call Shirley on June 6th and curse her out, Jenny is very, very motivated that I call Shirley back. Okay, and at one point Jenny is feigning anger. She says, "Clint, I am so mad with you. I am furious right now, Clint. You need to call her. What if she has a program?" Now this calm and measured tone, this is not Jenny's normal way of speaking when angry. And this is adds to the fact that and this high level of motivation that Jenny has, that I call Shirley back, has me on the case. This is a scam. And so I call Shirley without Shirley's knowledge or consent. I call Shirley and I record her without her knowledge or consent. Okay, so Shirley doesn't know she's being recorded in these calls. And here's the background in these 3 points right here. This numbered list, this is the background. And when you listen to all of these calls in their entirety, after you've listened to all these calls in their entirety, you will have these 3 facts very solidly between the calls with Atrium Health's finance and Shirley and corporate privacy. You get a very clear picture of how Atrium Health's finance department works. Okay, that's the first fact, is that Atrium Health's finance department does not have your full Social Security number. They cannot see your full Social Security number in their systems. For Atrium Health's finance department, the only use, okay, make a note of this, the only use of your full Social Security number is to order your medical records and file a Medicaid application. Atrium Health has a second financial aid option called Charity Care. For Charity Care, you do not have to provide your Social Security number. Now, on the next page, I've got some timelines of events here. Shirley calls me back. I call Shirley on June 7th. She calls me back at 10 a.m. And she makes 3 attempts to get my Social Security number. On one such attempt, on the second attempt, she claims that she has my Social Security number on a paper in her filing cabinet. Okay. On evidence ID 20, she confirms that she is asking for all 9 digits of my Social Security number. So in these calls, she doesn't ask for all 9 digits. She just says, "I need your Social Security number." Okay, and she claims to need this to remove Jenny's number from my account. Okay. And then here we have the corporate privacy and confirms that they shouldn't be asking for my Social Security number. And also we note that the call for Jenny on Atrium's records, the call to Jenny occurred on June 7th, when according to Jenny and Shirley, when I first called her, Shirley called her on June 6th. Okay, what this is indicative of is Shirley really didn't call her on June 6th on her work number, and they're covering it up by calling it on June 7th. Now, here's what happens on this June 7th, 19 call when Shirley calls me back. Okay, so first, I deny outright any interest in Medicaid. Okay, again, the only purpose for my Social Security number is to order my medical records and file a Medicaid application. Okay, given that I'm not filing a Medicaid application, she should not need my full Social Security number, which the Medicaid application and the records, those go together. Okay, despite this, Shirley makes 3 attempts to get my full Social Security number. She claims to need my full Social Security number to remove Jenny's work number from my account, even though she claimed to have removed it on June 6th when I called her then. Okay, and here we got to notice, and you'll see this in the calls, the attempts to get my Social Security number become very motivated. It is as if Shirley has something to gain by getting my full Social Security number. In one attempt to get my Social Security number, Shirley seems to claim that she has my full Social Security number on a piece of paper in her filing cabinet. This raises some questions. Why is Shirley asking me for my Social Security number? Why are her attempts to get it increasingly desperate and motivated? Why does she lie to me and tell me that she has my Social Security number on a piece of paper in her filing cabinet? Well, the answers are as follows. Why does she want my Social Security number? She wants to order my medical records. That's the only use she has for this information. Why are her attempts to get it increasingly desperate and motivated? She has something to gain by getting my medical records. There is a large benefit to her somehow. Why does she lie to me and tell me that she has my full Social Security number on a paper in her filing cabinet? Okay, she's trying to disarm me. What she wants me to think is, hey, this lady's asking for my Social Security number, and I feel anxious about giving it to her. But if I don't give it to her, she's going to have it anyways because she's already got a piece of paper in her filing cabinets. So I might as well give it to her because all I'm doing is saving her a trip to her filing cabinet. She has my Social Security number, whether I give it to her or not. That's what she wants me to think. And here's the conclusion of all this. Shirley is trying to illegally obtain my health care records. Okay, she wants my Social Security number so she can order my medical records. Most likely what she intends to do is to file a Medicaid application against my consent, because in ordering my medical records, she's going to leave a paper trail and an electronic trail of everything that she does, and this is going to look suspect. So to cover her tracks, she's probably going to file a Medicaid application without my consent. And here, she is facing serious prison time if she gets caught. I looked this up online, and from what I could tell, Shirley is facing up to 10 years in prison for these crimes, for the crime she's trying to commit. There are multiple crimes involved. Up to 10 years in prison and about $300,000 in fines. Okay. Now, when you listen to these calls, you will see that I am very clearly suspicious of her, particularly when I call her on June 7th. So when we're talking on June 7th, I am grilling her. I'm clearly suspicious. Okay. And you've got to remember that these crimes she's committing, she's going to get 5-10 years in prison for doing this. Okay, in the face of this prison time if she gets caught, and despite the fact that I'm very, very, very suspicious of her, very clearly I'm suspicious of her, she is still extremely motivated to get my Social Security number so that she can commit this crime. Okay, and here I pose the question: who can offer her a suitably large reward, big enough to offset this risk? The answer is obvious. Okay, the same party that paid off Allie Rowe's mortgage. Okay, and you can read this document. I talk about, we got the timestamps that I already referenced. And here I have an evidence inventory of what these are. And so here you can read this. I won't read this to you. You can read this yourself. That's you can read that when you look at the calls, because whoever's watching this, you probably eventually want to listen to these calls yourself. So in the next video, I'll take you to the incriminating parts of the calls. In the third video, I'll give you some more crucial details about these calls, and at minimum, you don't want to miss video number 3. So now we're going to go to the incriminating parts of these phone calls. See, I've got 6 timestamps here, and in light of these 3 facts that we've established, and that you will establish when you listen to all the phone calls in their entirety, in light of these 3 facts, what occurs in these timestamps is definitively incriminating. What I'm going to do, I'm going to move my timestamps to another monitor so that I can work, and we'll get to it. So here is me and Shirley on June 7th. This is evidence ID 19, June 7th at 10:10 a.m. Me and Shirley with Atrium Health Finance Departments, and we'll see the attempts to get my Social Security number. Here's attempt number 1.
Give me your Social Security number, and if I'm going to go in here right now, take it out. Give me your Social Security number.
Okay, and if I take it out, she means she's going to remove Jenny's number. Okay, and here is the second attempt.
If you can give me your Social Security number while I'm sitting here right now, instead of me going into my file cabinet, pulling the information out, and I'm going to remove her number.
Okay, and so there on attempt number 2, you notice how she lies to me and tells me that she has my Social Security number on a paper in her filing cabinet. Okay, and here is attempt number 3.
Can I get the social, please?
No, you cannot.
Okay, and this is at the end of the call. So there's 3 full attempts to get my social. And I'll show you something else here real quick. That she asks for it a total of 4 times. There's one in between the second and the third where I cut her off. So there's actually a total of 4, and here's the one where I cut her off.
I know.
I'm going to have to call you.
Okay, if you listen to that, if you didn't hear that, rewind the video and listen again. You will hear her. She asked for my Social Security number, and I cut her off. So in reality, there are 4 attempts total if you include the one where I cut her off. Now the next timestamp, we're going to go to evidence ID 20. This is June 13th, 8:20 a.m. I'm calling Shirley, and I call Shirley, and my intent in this call is to get her to confirm that she's asking for all 9 digits. If you notice in the first call that I just did, she merely asked for my Social Security number. In the reasonable interpretation, that means all 9 digits, but she could claim after the fact, when everything comes to light, that she was asking for the last 4 only. And so here we have, this is brief.
My protocol is to ask for all 9 of the numbers.
Okay.
That's my protocol.
Okay, so you see there, she says her protocol is asked for all 9 of the numbers. So there, that removes any doubt as to what if she was asking for the last 4 or all 9. Now this is evidence ID 21 is the next one, and this is with Atrium Health Corporate Privacy. What happens is on evidence ID 23, August 6, 12:12 p.m. I call Atrium Health Corporate Privacy over concerns that my health information has been compromised, and I also bring up this issue with Shirley. And then at 2:38 p.m. on August 6th, in evidence ID 21 that we're about to go over, me and Laura have a second call where Laura shares her findings. The first thing that we're going to notice here is that when they look at the records about Jenny's number, and the call and Shirley calling Jenny at Jenny's work number, it says it's on June 7th.
June the 7th is when they called Jenny. They have notes that show that they called Jenny and left a message asking her to have you call them back, which matched up with... Okay,
now what you want to notice here is that Shirley called, when Jenny first tells me that Shirley called her, it was on June 6th. The first time I called Shirley, it was on June 6th, and Shirley said she was removing the number right there. On Atrium's notes, according to what Laura just said, the call with Jenny is notated as to have taken place on June 7th. What this is suggestive of is that the call really wasn't made on June 6th, and Shirley is covering her tracks by making a call on June 7th and notating in her systems that the call was made on June 7th. Now we're going to go to our final timestamp, and this is what the finance official and this person that Laura talked to at the finance department, he's a senior finance official, and this is what he says about Shirley asking for my full social to remove a phone number.
That, because I also asked them about, them questioning you about your social.
Okay.
And, again, what he told me was, he said, Laura, I can't imagine that they would have wanted his social for identity purposes because they can't see the full social anyway. It's masked. I said, well, why would they have asked him for it? And, again, just speculating based on what he knows of.
All right, for the sake of time, I want to cut that off. But you see there that he confirms there's no reason she should ask for my full social. They can't see it. I'm in their systems. And what Laura goes on to explain is that it's possible that she was trying to proactively file a Medicaid application, that she's going to collect my full Social Security number so that she can file a Medicaid application for me. And of course, as you just heard in those first 3 timestamps I played you, she is asking for my social to remove a phone number from my account. And when you listen to these calls in their entirety, you will see that I deny any interest in Medicaid outright up front at the very beginning of this call on June 7th, 2019. Now some notes about these calls. First off, you may be wondering why I saved this evidence ID 18. Which is a call where I call Shirley and I get no answer and I think I get a voicemail. My reasoning at the time was that I was going to record every call that I had with Shirley, and that would prevent Atrium from down the road making some spurious claim about when he called us on June 7th at 9:33 and he told us this, or we told him that, that they could falsely add some facts or add some details to this ongoing conversation that we've had. That would kind of exculpate them or sanitize what they're doing, stuff like this. So at the time I was thinking I'm going to record every call that I have, even if it's no answer. Another note to make is in this evidence ID 20 on this June 13-19 call, I make comments to Shirley about how I'm in a state of mind where I don't trust people. And I make comments to her about how it's odd to me that somebody's calling me from a number that I can't find on Google and stuff like this. What I'm doing there is I'm playing psychological jiu-jitsu with them, that when you listen to this evidence ID 19, you will see that my demeanor, I am clearly very suspicious of Shirley. Now, at the time that I make this call on evidence ID 20 on June 13th, my intent is I want to keep calling her over and over and getting her to add information, get more information to use against her to get to the bottom of this scam. And so I give her an alternate explanation as to why I'm suspicious. I don't want to tell her, hey, I think that you're trying to get my medical records for Wells Fargo because you're asking for my Social Security number for no valid purpose, and give her the true thing, because then what's going to happen is she's going to be reluctant to talk to me. Her defenses are going to be thrown up, and when I call her, she's going to be giving me spurious reasons as to why she can't talk, and to kick in the can, and saying to call somebody else, whatever she does to avoid talking to me. So if I give her an alternate explanation that I'm kind of suspicious of people and I don't trust people that call me from another number, this puts her at ease, and she'll keep talking to me, and I can keep collecting information to use against her. And so that's that. And so in reality, when I'm calling her, I'm not in a state of mind where I'm not trusting people other than Wells Fargo. I know exactly who she is. I know why she's calling me. I know she's calling me from Atrium Health, all of this. Another thing to note is that on these Atrium Health corporate privacy files, the numerical order of these evidence ID 21, 22, 23, does not correspond to the chronological order as to when I made the calls. So the call on evidence ID 23 was made at 12:12 p.m. This occurred before the call at 2:38 p.m. This is important because in this evidence ID 23, if you listen to this whole call, you'll hear Laura tell me that, full social is one way they can look you up, or one way we can look you up. What's happened here is Laura is just mistaken. She doesn't work for the finance departments, and she's mistakenly thinking that you can call, that you can look up by full social. On evidence ID 21, what's happened is that she's talked to the financial officer, and he's given her the correct information. Another thing to note is that I've got this up here on this MP3 player on this call from 6/13/19. I asked Shirley about going into my account, and she wants to go into my account using name or number. She asked so I can give her my name and number. Now what's going on here is Shirley is in her habitual mode of doing things, and this is her business as usual way of looking people up. She looks them up by name and number. She doesn't typically ask them for full social. And before I play this, because I want to play this, it's about a 15-second clip of her asking for my name and number. I want to point out that on this call in 6-7, where she repeatedly asked for my Social Security number, if she wasn't asked for my Social Security number to file a Medicaid application and to order my medical records and to do this stuff, there's no reason that given that she has other ways of looking me up, that she wouldn't just quit and say, hey, he doesn't want to give me his Social Security number, so she asked me for my name and my date of birth, or my name and my phone number, or any of this other things that they use to look me up. But I'll play this 10 or 15-second clip here of her asking for my name and number. That'll conclude this video. And on the next video, I'll explain why Wells Fargo may want my medical records and what they're probably up to here.
Well, right now, I don't have an account. I'm working on something else, so you can give me a number, and it's information.
Okay, see there, she's talking about, I can give her my name and number, and she can get my account. But on the next video, we'll talk about why Wells Fargo is doing this. So why would Wells Fargo be doing this? Why would they be offering Shirley at Atrium Health, apparently offering her a fortune to be so motivated to commit this crime, to get my health care records for them? What would be their motivation? Well, there are two possible motivations, and I'll go over the first of these in this video. And we've got to go back to my privacy violation folder. Go to Evidence ID 8, it's Courtney Chat Enhanced Redacted. And I've got some messages highlighted. Let me tell you the background here. Is that again, as I told you before, my hospital called bullshit on this civil commitment petition. And I don't know it at this time, but Wells Fargo knows that by the time that this civil commitment petition has been processed, by the time I'm at the hospital, by the time my doctors have called bullshit, Wells Fargo has committed a slew of crimes. Okay, they've involved the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police in their crimes. They've involved the guy at the door at Atrium Health. They've had this fraudulent health care record prepared. And they've expected this civil commitment stay, this hospital stay, to be further falsified evidence in their favor. And now my doctors have called bullshit on their petition. And this gets back to Courtney, because as you can see here, I'm telling Courtney about this. And here we're on message 1240. And I say, at this point, there are several of my doctors involved, and they are all looking at what Jenny has said on the various times I brought this up, and she is clearly lying. And so here I suggest that my doctors are really, really zeroed in on what Jenny's saying and how she's lying and stuff like this. And I give the impression that, that my doctors are very skeptical and very involved in what's going on. Now, in reality, my doctors really don't care about this situation. They're not doing anything to help me with it. But I'm trying to put the heat on Courtney because I'm trying to provoke what I've wanted this entire time. I want to have a conversation with the people involved to know what happened and to be able to kind of contain this hell that follows me everywhere that I go. And then we'll see on message 1293, I mentioned it again. I see the situation we have now is Jenny has made it clear that she's being dishonest and has done things to absolve herself of this situation that can get her in big trouble. Then on message 1644, I say she denies ever talking to her, period, and she's lying her ass off clearly, according to numerous experts. Now here I'm playing Wells Fargo's favorite game called I'm Going to Deceive You, but You Can't Call Me a Liar. And what I do here is I say something that's objectively true, but that misleads you. Okay, when Courtney reads this, and in the context of what I said thus far, she thinks these numerous experts are all the doctors in my hospital that are really microanalyzing what has happened. Well, in reality, who are the numerous experts? Leonard Clinton Williams III and the authors of the various books that he reads. Okay, so this is objectively true. She is lying her ass off, and I've got numerous experts that I've read about that can confirm this. That her behavior adds up to she's lying. But it's misleading. But this is another statement that is going to put the heat on Courtney and Wells Fargo. And then on message 2552, I talk about what happened at the hospital, and I talk about how the doctors concluded there was nothing wrong with me. They said I've been examined, and there is nothing. Okay, so that is the first possible motive for Wells Fargo wanting my healthcare records. Is I've made them think that my doctors are really onto them, which my doctors are onto them in a sense. They call bullshit on this petition. But I've given the impression that my doctors are really microanalyzing this, and so they want to see my healthcare records to see what kind of case what kind of info my doctors have on them, and what's going on, because at this point they've got a serious potential legal liability. Now, despite this, and this is a very logical explanation as to why they would want my healthcare records. I tend to doubt that this is the real reason. Okay, I think it's the second reason that I want to get to in the next video. The second reason is that Wells Fargo wants my hospital records from this hospital that I stayed at when I was 18. The reason I think that is because if they do this with Shirley, and they have her order my medical records for a Medicaid application, she can order not only my medical records from Atrium, she can also order my medical records from any other hospital that I've been to. And that would include this hospital that I'm at when I'm 18. If all Wells Fargo was after was my records from Atrium, I see no reason why they wouldn't just get somebody within Atrium, one of these doctors or somebody like this, and bribe them to give them the information. And they could possibly even just get Shirley to give the information. They go in her computer system, because she has access to my records, and get my records from Atrium. This would be trivially easy for Wells Fargo to do. As we'll see in future videos, Atrium Health is the least secure place on the face of the earth for your private information. And the way Wells Fargo throws around figures of $200,000, $1 million, of figures like this, it would be child's play to get my records from Atrium Health. Now, why would they want my records from the hospital that I was at when I was 18? I'll explain that in the next video. Okay, so why would Wells Fargo want my records from the hospital that I was at when I was 18? Broughton Hospital. Well, one thing is that there might be something on those records that could bias a judge or jury against me. And so Wells Fargo could get those records and find that out. They could see what kind of case they had. If this is a problem, at this point there's a possibility, in their minds at least, that there might be a lawsuit over this. And of course they can't use those illegally obtained healthcare records in their case, but when we go to court, they can be subpoenaed, and so before the fact, they can see what kind of case they got, what there might be on these records that could prejudice, that could bias a judge or a jury against me. That would be one reason. I don't suspect that reason, though. What I suspect is the next reason I'm going to give you, and this reason is related to something I found out about Wells Fargo throughout this battle of being criminally victimized and trying to fight back in futility. Catching them in the crime, catching them in the act every time for the sake of nothing, and also trying to negotiate with them in futility to have a simple conversation, consequence-free. Is that Wells Fargo has an enormous problem admitting when Wells Fargo makes a mistake. That Wells Fargo, that there are strong overtones of narcissism coming from Wells Fargo in my interactions with them and the way that they go about things. And at this point in time, by the time that they've gotten Shirley to order my medical records, trying to get her to do this, Wells Fargo has committed a bunch of huge mistakes, okay? Absolutely, ridiculously stupid mistakes. So going back to this privacy violation, that they hired the senior manager who has no business being in that job whatsoever. Okay, I mean, this guy is not even remotely qualified. He could never, ever, ever do the work that our entry-level employees even do. He has no relevant skills, no relevant education, no relevant experience. His previous job, from what I heard, involved printing paper. Okay, I'm talking about printing literal white paper, not bond paper or something like this. He was printing literal white paper in his last job. I mean, this guy is just, I don't want to be mean, but he is, I'll go ahead and say it, he's a moron. Okay, I mean, this is absolutely, okay, and so they hire this idiot senior manager, and by the time that he's done this, where he's had Jenny look into my past, I'd already told my manager that I have autism. So he knows that I'm an 88 of 1990 protected person with autism. And if that's not a red flag that you don't go digging in somebody's business, I don't know what is. That all the employers that I've had in the past, I mean, you know, when I tell them that I've got disabilities and stuff like this, I mean, they are sweating bullets over all this ADA stuff, this privacy stuff, all this stuff that can get them in legal trouble and cause them reputational damage, and stuff like this. I mean, this has them really, really, on edge. And they're careful when they're dealing with me. And here we've got this moron that, despite this massive red flag, commits this vulgar invasion of my privacy that is incredibly stupid to do. Okay, and this guy is so dumb, he probably didn't even know that it was wrong for him to do this. Okay? And so he has Jenny contact Abby, and Jenny gets all this stuff. And me and Jenny argue about it, and then here in April of 19, they've committed a slew of vicious crimes that are very unbecoming of this image that Wells Fargo wants to promote for itself, where Wells Fargo seems to think that Wells Fargo is perfect, and Wells Fargo certainly wants everybody else to think Wells Fargo is perfect. Okay, and so this just adds to the pile of mistakes that they've made, these vicious, very serious crimes that, again, they committed against me after I asked them for a year and a half to have a consequences-free conversation. And so what Wells Fargo is doing in trying to get these hospital records from the hospital that I was at when I was 18 is they're engaging in an activity of reality denial. That they've committed this vulgar invasion of my privacy. And what they can do, instead of admitting that they've made a mistake, is they can double down in the same direction and make even more vulgar intrusions. Okay, they can rationalize to themselves that, hey, we looked into this guy's past, and of course what Abby told them was a bunch of stuff about I've been at this mental institution, that I've been to a quote-unquote mental institution because I'm a psychopath, I want to kill people, and whatever else that she's been told. But they can have this rationale that, hey, this guy, he was always different, and he was very intelligent. We thought that we need to look into his past. We learned from that. He's been to a mental institution because he's a psychopath. He claims that that's not the case to his friend Jenny. But we felt like that we had a responsibility to find out what's really wrong with him, and to see if he's a danger, because we got to warn others. We got to notify others. This might be somebody that can hurt people, is dangerous. And so we went and we got his healthcare records from this hospital that he was at when he was 18. If there's nothing on these hospital records that can bias a judge or a jury or regular authority, one option they have is to not even admit that they've done this. The other option they've had is, we checked into it, and he checked out. He's fine, but we had an obligation to do this. We thought that there might be something up with this guy, and we got conflicting information between what this girl Abby says and what he says, and so and this whole rationalization has them looking at like something other than a bunch of incompetent criminals, okay, which is what they are. They are laughably, pathetically, absurdly incompetent criminals, and they are vicious criminals at that. Now, in the other scenario, if they get these healthcare records and there's something on there that can bias a judge or jury against me, that can make me sound like I'm a dangerous or a bad person or something like this, which I'll give you a hint. There are things on those healthcare records that could bias a judge or a jury or an enforcer, or a regulator against me. That I'd said things in this hospital that if you didn't know the context, if you didn't have the expertise to understand what was going on, you didn't understand the condition I was in, I said some things that were very, very disturbing, and stuff like this. That if a layman who doesn't have the professional expertise, who wasn't there, who didn't know the condition that I was in, this could be really off-putting and make me sound like I'm a very disturbed, dangerous person. Things that I said there. And so in that scenario, then it's even better for them because they can reverse engineer this narrative. That, hey, this guy was working for us. We could always tell he was different. He was very intelligent. There was something off about him, and we started to see signs that we thought that he might be dangerous. And so we looked into his past. We contacted Abby, and she said that he'd been to a mental institution because he's a psychopath. No. He says that that's not the case when he's talking to his friend Jenny. He tells her something totally different. But we felt like we had an obligation to find out what it is with this guy. We got to know who's working with us, who's living among us. We have a responsibility to inform other people because we see signs that we think this guy's dangerous. And so we went and got these healthcare records. And yes, look at what we found here. Okay, and so in that narrative, that reverse engineered bullshit narrative, they are able to deny reality, and they're only not looking like incompetent criminals, but it's like, hey, Wells Fargo, these are Renaissance men. Okay, this dumbass senior manager, he's a Renaissance man. He's not only qualified to run this credit department, he's an expert psychologist that can spot signs of people being dangerous. I mean, this is all a load of shit. But it serves Wells Fargo's purpose. Now, of course, the elephant in the room here is when I was in this hospital, when I was 18, I was on 2 different units. The first unit I was on, I had about 8 people assigned to my case that would talk to me. We'd be sitting at a table. If I remember, it was between 6 and 8 people that would be sitting at a table with me when we discussed my case. These are medical doctors, PhD psychologists, social workers, people like this. Okay, and then the second unit, I was assigned another team of doctors, very experienced doctors, including, again, medical doctors and psychologists. And the aggregate experience of the people at this hospital education experience, the aggregate was probably over 200 years. Okay, so Wells Fargo, basically what they're saying here is, we had to take over his healthcare. Okay, and there are absolutely dead zero reasons Wells Fargo is committing a vulgar intrusion, a massive crossing of boundaries in this ridiculous reality-denying exercise that they're doing, that these doctors and their 200 years plus aggregate education experience are very well qualified to do their job, and there's no reason for a bunch of corrupt idiot bankers to go and second-guess their conclusions and to take over the responsibility that is rightly theirs. And what happened at that hospital was the hospital sent me home, okay, because they could tell that I was a perfectly harmless, good person with potential, and those people at the hospital made a very, very good decision because I left that hospital and proceeded over the next decade plus to kill myself working and to go to finance school so that I could be the best person that I could be, and so that I could be the best person and the best employee that I could be for Wells Fargo. And so, again, it's a total load of bullshit, but that's what I suspect based on my feel for how Wells Fargo works, my feel for human psychology. That's what they're trying to do. Now, obviously, I've thwarted Shirley in this attempt, and I'll leave the question open as to if they obtained these healthcare records that I was at the hospital as I was 18. I'll leave that question open, and we'll revisit that in subsequent videos.